Laurent Audet, who is the Chief Commercial Officer of Urenco. So thank you, Laurent, for joining us. I have Edward Stones, who is Business Vice President for Energy and Climate for Dow Chemical. Thank you for being here. We have Lucia Tian, who is the Head of Clean Energy and Decarbonization Technologies for Google. Thank you, Lucia. And Brandon Oyer, who is the Head of Energy and Water for Americans for Amazon. So thank you very much, all of you. And as I was saying, I will start with you, Lucia. So obviously, Google has been one of the pioneers leading, trailblazing in this initiative. So tell us a little bit, why is nuclear an important piece of Google's puzzle as far as power and the future?
Yeah, well, first I want to say a big thank you to Sama and the World Nuclear Association for gathering us all here today in this important moment. And our team at Google is really thrilled to be joining this Tripling Nuclear Pledge alongside many other big energy users in the corporate world, and we hope many more to come. So your question, why is Google involved in nuclear? Well, Google has a goal to operate on 24/7 carbon-free energy around the globe at all of our data centers and offices. And what we've realized is that to achieve that goal, we need a whole portfolio of technologies. Google has long been one of the largest non-utility purchasers of power from renewable technologies like wind and solar, but our own optimization modeling shows that actually if you want to achieve 24/7 carbon-free energy, you need a whole range of technologies that include clean, firm resources like nuclear to decarbonize the grid and have affordable, clean, and reliable power. So that's why we're involved in nuclear. We're very excited to continue to do the work, and I think, in signing the pledge, now the real work begins.
Very good, very exciting. So let me go to you. Edward, I think that one of the things that make Dow a little bit unique is, in addition to the 24/7 needs and the constant power, is that you need electricity and heat. So tell us a little bit more how nuclear may be important to your operations and your business.
Yeah, so basically, we consume about 10 gigawatts of capacity of power and steam. We already also have about a gigawatt of renewables under contract, and then we buy and sell to balance our sites as well in that space. But, when you look at having clean, firm process heat and power with long-term duration, any model you do of a kind of carbon neutral society involves nuclear. There's just not another option to get you there. We believe in, about half of the emissions of our company come from power and steam generation, and that's the business that I run. And so we took the opportunity and announced about a couple of years ago that we were pursuing a nuclear plant in Seadrift, Texas, which is about 2 hours south of here. And we're very close to submitting the construction permit authorized application for that facility, which will happen here shortly. But we've worked with X-Energy, we've worked with companies like Amazon as well, and Urenco, to build a nuclear infrastructure and kind of group of like-minded companies to try and make this project go. Also, I'd like to acknowledge the support of the DOE and the NRC in that process as well.
Mm-hmm. Very exciting. I mean, I think that this is a first-of-kind project in the US, and I think it's very exciting. So I'm going to go to you, Brandon, maybe ask you similar question. So for Amazon, you've been looking at nuclear in depth for quite a while. So tell us a bit more about the breadth of the role of nuclear in Amazon's vision for the future.
Yeah, I mean, the clean, firm aspect of nuclear has already come up twice, so I'm glad to hear that resonating. Amazon has a portfolio of 600 renewable projects around the world, 30 gigawatts-ish. And we're very proud of that. We've been the world's largest corporate purchaser of renewable energy since 2020. And we will continue to do that. But we see the adoption of nuclear and its clean, firm, baseload energy to really fit with the data center load profile as well. So we're excited to add it as a part of the portfolio. We will continue on all the other technologies that we've been investing in, but tripling the amount of nuclear power that comes online by 2050, I'd kind of like to see us all strive to beat that a little bit. Amazon committed to being 100% renewable, and we've beat that goal. We're looking forward towards 2040 being net zero carbon. We see this as a very important part of building upon that goal and hopefully exceeding that goal a little bit. So we're excited, happy with what you're doing. Thanks for everything. And it's going to be a team effort. There's going to be multiple technologies. We're very proud of the investment that we made into X Energy. We'll partner with Energy Northwest, work on the initial 320 megawatts that we've got in the pipeline. We're going to start working. We're doing that day in and day out now. So we're not waiting for 2050.
Yes.
But we're looking at ways to expand that and double down and look from a manufacturing perspective. And it's just kind of in the DNA of what we do at Amazon. We innovate on behalf of our customers, and glad to see other partners sitting up here and undertaking that with us.
Well, and I think that this is one of the dimensions that we love about this pledge, that we are bringing together, many world leaders in many different industries, and you are innovating in many ways. And I think that in nuclear, we have done that for a while, but we do have much to learn also. So I think that this collaboration is going to be fabulous. So I'm going to go to you, Laura, because we have our challenge cut for us, for the nuclear industry. So from your perspective, from the perspective of the nuclear industry from Orano, what do you think are the opportunities, the things that the nuclear industry needs to start working on in order to really deliver and help support all these exciting projects?
Well, I think, as you said, we've got a few challenges, but we've seen a change of fortune over the last few years on the backdrop of two elements. The first one is energy independence and security, and the other one is the climate goals that lots of people want to achieve. I think we've seen for a long time a little movement in the industry, but now, over the last 3 years, we've seen idle reactors restarting. We've seen new nuclear programs being relaunched in many countries, whether they are large scale, mainly in Western Europe and in Korea, and also small and modular reactors here. And I think the real boost that we have today is we've got very reputable companies that are backing it, because there have been a lot of discussion, there have been lots of talks about the potential of SMR and advanced modular reactors. But now, sorry to make a sport analogy, but it's the Six Nations in France, so I'll say in Europe. So I'll say we need to convert the tribe. We really need to see that happening. And with the backing of Amazon, Google, Dow, we have this opportunity, but we need to step up as an industry. We have success stories. Baraka is a great success story. So we have success stories. We just need to make sure that when we build something, we don't build a one-of-a-kind. The only way we make it economic is if we build series. Whether it's large scale or small modular reactors, we need to build series to get on the learning curve and to be able also to make nuclear an economical proposition.
Yes, exactly. So we are moving from products, from projects to actually a program, an entire program and a series. So definitely that is the repeatability that we are discussing. So I'm going to go back to you, Lucia, because, going a little bit deeper into this partnership collaboration, Google has been partnering with the nuclear industry for a while. You have some collaborations with novel technologies, with nuclear reactor designers. So tell us a little bit, why is this important to you? It's not just the energy, right? It's the progress and the development.
Yeah, and I'm going to pick up on something that Laurent said here, which is that sort of fleet approach, right? What we've been using this word order book, at least here in the United States. For starters, right, last fall we launched this partnership with Kairos Power to deploy exactly that order book, right? It was the first corporate agreement to deploy multiple SMRs, small modular reactors, in the US. And the reason that we went with this order book approach instead of one reactor at a time is to be able to see those cost curves, come down that learning curve, and make sure that we reap some of those benefits and make nuclear power cheaper for us and for everyone else on the grid. Now, we're not stopping there, right? In nuclear, we are also taking an all-of-the-above approach, and to us, that means, we're open to supporting projects that look like, all the way from maximizing the existing fleet through restarts and uprates, through to new build nuclear reactors in the Gen 3 plus category and the Gen 4 category, and all the way to fusion, right? We get those conversations every day. So it's an exciting moment, and we really support we think about supporting new technologies and advanced nuclear in particular in a couple of different ways. The first is obviously through sending that firm demand signal to give a lot of confidence to the market and to the supply chain to start building. Second, we also think about investments, right? In providing some of that financial investment, especially in early stage technologies that helps them to reach those de-risking milestones. And finally, we also work on some of those market structures and market development that help make it easier for us to bring advanced technologies like nuclear to the grid. For example, in the US, we've been working with utility partners on a new structure we call a Clean Transition Tariff, or CTT. And what that means is it's a market tool that enables off-takers like us to work with our utility partners to bring online newer, clean, firm technologies into their portfolios without putting that additional cost burden on the ratepayer. So through all of these different methods, we hope to catalyze the market, and I think it really is a team sport here. We're committed to forming the sort of very complex partnerships that are needed to actually deploy nuclear at scale.
I love what you said, because many people, when we are thinking about innovation, sometimes we only focus on tech or something a little bit more esoteric, when in fact things as important as designing a new market mechanisms to incentivize investment and to find ways to work together. I mean, I think those things are very exciting. And obviously having the leadership of your very large, very trailblazing companies is helping to bring visibility to those ideas. So thank you for that. So on that note, Edward, so obviously you mentioned a little bit about the partnerships that Dow has with several, some of them here, players in the nuclear industry. So how do you think that these new partnerships and these new collaborations that you are developing are helping change a little bit the environment and the way the nuclear industry looks at these collaborations?
Yeah, so I think, one thing that Dow brings that's maybe unique is we build multi-billion-dollar projects about every 5 or so years as part of our approach to serving our customers. So we have a whole organization, we have an in-house EPC company. We can help take what is a technologically correct but impractical design and turn it into something that can actually be built. And that's part of what we are bringing to the partnership with X-Energy in Seadrift is finding a way to actually build and execute a project and bring that project execution discipline. And I think we also, because it's a real project, we can work with members of the kind of supply chain to talk about timing and once you have a date for something, things get a little clearer, right? Yeah. And so we have a date, and part of our project is, our message to X-Energy from the very start is we have a drop-dead date by which we need to supply steam and power to our site. It's not like a power plant on a grid where if it doesn't come on time, a line at a certain date, somebody else provides the power. If it doesn't come online at the time we need, we don't have operating facilities, which means that about 4 to 5 years before that, we will have a drop dead date by which either you go or you don't. And that sort of discipline is, I think, needed in the nuclear industry, because what we need to get to is repeatability, modularity, and discipline. And you know, the sexy part of SMR is not the S or even the R, it's the M, right? Because if you can build things in a modular way, and we do this all the time in all of our facilities, you know, and you can break out what's distinctly nuclear from what's distinctly process, and separate that out to make it truly modular around the nuclear island. This is a new approach that certainly fourth generation technologies allow you to take. And that's some of what we see as exciting about the X-energy technology, and that's, you know, the heat, the temperature also is more appropriate for the types of processes we need. So what we think, you know, we're bringing that's a little bit unique is that ability to execute a project and with discipline in a process facility and build it in a way that kind of makes sense to be built.
Well, and I think that is a dimension that certainly, as Laurent was mentioning earlier, we really need to re-emphasize in the nuclear industry how, you know, you guys are looking at these projects because you need the energy and you need it now. So needs to happen with this discipline and this. So that's very exciting. So let me go back to you, Brandon, because you mentioned this a little bit, but I would like to maybe give you some time to talk more about this. Amazon has been investing in SMRs. I mean, you've been pioneering, looking at all these technologies, and you do have several projects in a couple of states. So maybe tell us a little bit more about all these exciting things that you guys are doing.
Yeah, so I mean, we've announced $1 billion worth of investment over 4 projects and technologies, and we're now focused on that modularity and that scaling that really needs to happen over the next period of time. That's been one big aspect of it, and Amazon. We do a lot of, we spend a lot of time learning how to scale our business. So we think that we can really partner with some of these newer companies and you know, help ingrain some of the DNA that we have that we've learned how to scale over time. Scaling, you know, network or scaling AWS and scaling delivery services. We've learned a lot over that. So, and that's very applicable, much like Edward's talking about from his side of the house. You know, bringing in EPC, bringing in that muscle. So we think we can really partner on that modularity and that scaling approach. I think the R is pretty sexy in the SMR too, but that's just me as the nuclear engineer on the panel. I think the other thing that is very important and that we can't overlook is the financial backing, and how will we enable more utilities, more investors to fund all the upfront development and permitting. How can we, you know, streamline some of the permitting, hold the very high bar for everything, like we have to have 0 defect. I'm totally on board with that. But how do we hold a high bar, but also speed up the development and the permitting as well? So we're you know, kind of attacking it from all angles. I think developing tariffs is one way. Developing commercial offtake is another way. You know, we have an MOU with Dominion Energy that we're going to partner with them to develop an SMR at their North Anna facility. So we're coming up with a few different ways. We're going to innovate. That's just part of our DNA. And we kind of have all of the ways that we go after this are successful. I think one thing that's very important is, we don't think that Amazon is the smartest person in the room for SMR development. We want to be a partner and we want to enable, and at the end of the day, we hope that all the companies right now that are building Gen 4 are successful and start putting capacity online so we can drive cost out. Because if we can commoditize and we can scale SMRs, we'll drive cost out, and we know that everybody wants clean, cheap, firm power.
Right. Well, and I think that this is perhaps one of the commonalities of many of the organizations that have joined this pledge is, yes, you do need the power for yourselves, but you have an interest in making sure that this energy is going to become available for a broader set of users. So as you said, this is a team sport, right? So that's very exciting. So Laura, so we've heard about all these exciting innovations in many areas, technology, regulation, the way in which we work together. So tell us a little bit, what are we doing, what is Urenco doing in order to also innovate in the nuclear space?
One thing that is for sure is whoever builds a nuclear reactor will need fuel for many, many years. Therefore, it's quite important to secure the fuel cycle. And that, Urenco, we've got 4 plants in 4 different countries, one here in New Mexico, and one in the UK, one in the Netherlands and Germany. And basically, we scale up those plants and we try to adapt to the requirements of the customers. One development that we've made recently is the ability to enrich to higher level. And we got license amendments in the US and in the UK to be able to produce what we call LEU+, which is enrichment level between 5 and 10%. It enables the current fleet operators to increase the burn-up, increase the cycle, reduce the outages, and therefore they've got higher throughput. That's one development. The other thing which we've done is on the high SADU, which is the next generation of fuel, where the market is still nascent, not firm, and therefore the ability for us to get the necessary commitment we need to have to deploy capital. We have in the UK match funding from the UK government, where we're going to build the first commercial scale high SADU facility, which will come online in the early 2030s. And of course, here in the United States, we've responded and been one of the awardee of the DOE RFP for high SADU. So basically, we are developing the necessary I would say, product for fueling whatever technology is successful. Mm-hmm. One thing is for sure is, the latest count, I think, from the IAEA, we had 84 different designs for SMR. There will need at some point to be some kind of rationalization because, we've seen that for the large-scale reactors. If we really want to have the economies of scales, we will need to have a few technology that see it to the finish line and then be able to replicate them and build upon the series effect.
Right, well, and I think that that's what we've been discussing, right? So we need to perhaps focus on a few designs and doing over and over and over again and do them well, on time, on budget, at the scale and at the speed that we need for this tripling global nuclear capacity by 2050. So we are getting very close to the end of our time, and I know that many of you are probably anxious to get to the reception part of this. So let me maybe make a couple of final remarks before we close and we have our gathering. So first of all, I would like to ask all of you to please help me thank our fabulous panel for very insightful remarks. Thank you very much, all of you. So, but I want to say, I want to thank them obviously for being on the panel, but also very importantly, I want to thank them, their teams, and their companies for your leadership to join this large energy users pledge and to support really this ambition to triple global nuclear capacity by 2050. So I think that this unprecedented support that we have announced today with this pledge by many of the most influential organizations in the world to triple global nuclear capacity by 2050 sends a very, very clear signal that we really need to do many things. We need to accelerate policy, we need to accelerate and streamline regulatory systems, we need to work together with finance to figure out what is the best way to bring these projects to success, and because we really need to enable the rapid expansion of this technology. So I also want to remind all of you that these major energy users are joining also 31 countries that have also joined this pledge to triple global nuclear capacity by 2050 more than 140 nuclear companies from all over the world, and also obviously 14 major banks and financial institutions from all over the world. So I think that we are assembling a very, very large coalition of the ambitious. So we do have here today, in addition to our panelists today, we have a number of other of the participants in this pledge, such as Meta, such as Occidental, Orlen Sintos Green Energy, the Clean Energy Buyers Alliance, and the Fly Green Alliance. And also we have supporters of the pledge, such as Siemens Energy. So I also want to thank all of them for joining this pledge. So thank you very much. Please help me thank them. So, but I want to also, before we close, tell you something very important. This is not the end. This is the beginning. So I think that we have a bunch of trailblazers here that have started this pledge, but in reality we know that there are many other energy companies, large energy users out there that are very closely looking at nuclear energy, and perhaps they are not here on the stage today, but they are definitely consider how nuclear energy could be part of their long-term energy plan. So I want to encourage all of those energy companies to join us. So perhaps not today, or perhaps yes. So we are going to be here. Please, if this interests you, you think that your company would like to join us, please come, talk to me, talk to our team, talk to any of these colleagues here that are already fully aware of what we are doing, so we can maybe get you on the loop. So please join this invitation, and we'll love to have you part of our group. So let me close just by thanking again all the signatories of the pledge, our partner Urenco for co-hosting this event, and also all the other partners that have contributed to many of our initiatives, such as Cameco, ENEC, Uranium Energy Corporation, and many, many others. So.